Fleeted woodpeckers were really interested in that balsam fir there. And there'd be some grubs, some food that they wanted. Dried up aronia. It's been hanging on the bush all winter. We're going to eat a couple. First frog recording of the year. More dried out aronia. But I'll save some for next trip. Right here we have a honeyberry bed that stretches to the end of it. But here I want to highlight that I'm putting white birch bark along the edges of the bed to stifle the grasses and other weeds that want to penetrate into the bed. And I'm going to let a few weeds grow in the bed with the elephant garlic that's planted here for diversity. But I went and got some moss out of the cedar swamp and I put that over the top, and I kind of broke it up this morning so that it's easier for the elephant garlic to penetrate up through it, because some of it was kind of matty. You can see there's one I didn't break up. You can see it's like a mat right there. And I make eggs up here when I come, and all the eggshells put right on the beds. So on the other side, this I didn't plant right here yet. On the other side, that is a bed of regular garlic, and I have white birch bark and cedar bark underneath this Phragmites stalks to keep the grasses from growing in the path. And this one I have white birch bark and then a thicker layer of Phragmites in the path. So this Phragmites was on top of this garlic bed to protect the garlic all winter, so now I'm putting it onto the path. So you can see the white birch bark right there. Actually, that's cedar bark. White birch is below that. There's a piece of white birch bark right there, you can see. So I don't come up here all the time, and when the ticks are out from the middle of May to the end of June, I don't really want to come at all. And the issue is this can dry out. Now I'll come if there's an extended drought to water everything. And if there isn't a drought and it's just moderate rainfall, normal rainfall, then I'm not worried about anything drying out, because I've got the paths covered and it's going to slow evaporation, as well as reduce the growth of the grasses. First time I tried this. First time I tried white birch bark, or tree barks. Now here I've extended these beds. First I had years ago I had a keyhole garden situation here all along these beds. And then I went to circle gardens, because then I can wrap the circle with hardware cloth here to protect it from the voles and the deer. 3-foot hardware cloth, even keep the deer out, as long as it's a smaller enclosure like this where they can't jump into it, obviously. They can't reach down in there either. I grew a nice batch of radishes in there last year. Fall radishes. I ate all hunting season. And here I planted some salsify and beets in with elephant garlic, and here you can see the circle still exists here. I can put that hardware cloth around it. This I haven't anything planted yet. Those are rice stalks on the top as mulch. This is swamp muck. Here's one of the old circle beds here. I planted it with salsify, and there's also garlic growing in here, or planted in here. Here's another one I can make a little circle around. Protect the salsify. So I haven't got anything planted in here yet. Oh, I do have garlic planted in here in this moss. I have garlic planted in here, and I'm not going to break the moss apart. I want to see if the garlic can shoot up through it. This is kind of a matted moss right there. But I'll do a circle here too, because I'm going to intersperse, succulents with the garlics. And I'm going to have to protect it from the voles, the mice, and the deer. No woodchucks up here yet. Rocky ground, I don't know if they can establish foothold here. This is a bed of skirret. And I planted some elephant garlic in here too. But the skirret the deer really like. I don't have many problems with, I haven't had any problems with mice and voles with skirret yet. I mean, once they learn, they'll probably start eating it, but it's the deer. And that's why I have this welded wire fence around this bed. These are achira leaves that I had down south. I brought them up. I'll use them as mulch up here. Right now they're over the top of some hunks of muck, like that. The white birch on the back side is going to serve three purposes. One is it's going to reduce the grasses from growing along the beds. Number two is when it rains, it's going to bring that rainfall down into the beds. Number three is that it's white. So when the sun comes up here in the morning and in the afternoon, right there's the sun right now, it's going to reflect off of that white, and that energy is going to come to the beds for the plants. First time I've tried this, so we'll see how it works out. Ooh. This is what I want to do this morning for a little while. Begin to break apart this sod. I'll shake out the soil back onto the bed, and then the sod I'll pile up and put cardboard over the top and let it decompose for future compost. I had some available cardboard. I put that over the top here so that this area should be a little easier. And I've got a whole lot of small potato onions. I didn't eat very many potato onions this year because I wanted to establish a big, huge bed of potato onions up here. And that's what this is going to be. All the way to that little mound right there. All the way along here. This is the longest bed at camp here. Let's pace it off. Each of my paces is generally 3 feet. 1, 2, 13, 14, 15, so probably close to 50 feet. In this bed here, I'm going to establish honeyberries in this one. I got honeyberries planted along that whole one there, and I want to have honeyberries here. Right now they're in spring onions, and you can see they're coming up. I've got this welded wire here because the onions like to curl, and I don't want them to curl. I want to harvest the bulbils. So I want the bulbils to come up and stay up above the ground, not touch the ground. I fertilized this with swamp muck and peat moss last fall. We get spring onions all the way along this huge line here, all the way to here. So next year I'm going to harvest quite a bit of them. Probably this fall even, and eat them for the winter. And this will also be a garlic bed. Up here, all the alliums aren't bothered by the rodents and the deer. If they come up too early in the spring, the rodents will eat them and the deer will eat them because there's nothing else that's green. But once everything else greens up, then we're good. And camp here can grow lots of alliums. That's what I'm planning. And anything else I figure out that the deer and the rodents won't eat. They don't eat honeyberries. The rabbits will eat them down. But there's not really many rabbits around here. I think there's too many coyotes. Okay. I'm going to go put my bibs on and start working on that bed right there right now. I want to brag on the soil here that's been protected by the weeds, grasses and the weeds for years. Had these beds formed up in 2015. So it's produced some pretty good soil. Right now I'm taking the sod out. I'm desodding the garden bed here. I didn't feel the need to do, I don't even have to dig this out. Not that big at all. But I feel the need to expand my growing because prices of food is going up and the nutrition is going down. In the wintertime I don't supply all of my, at least not my vegetable needs. I'm probably down to as much as, I don't know, maybe I'm doing a quarter because I'm fermenting stuff now and holding it in the refrigerator and then eating fermented food. It'll stay in the refrigerator for over a year. And there's some information that says that if you do it just right, it'll be good without refrigeration. But I have a refrigerator, and my wife isn't going to be shutting it off anytime soon, so I'm making use of it. But I want to eat more onions because I know these potato onions that I grow will last in storage for a year. So the idea is to grow enough potato onions where I can eat 2-3 of them every day with my late breakfast. And I'm kind of out of space in my backyard, so I'm going to get camp into operation. The critters don't eat the potato onions, so we're clear for that. But this bed here has never been utilized for growing food, so the first couple of years it's going to be just fantastic stuff. And then I'll have to start to add compost. So this is what you do if you already have something formed up where you don't need to form a bed. This is what you do. You just get in here and you pull up the sod and you shake it off. And the sod gets tossed into a pile where you can cover it with cardboard or something so it doesn't grow. And it'll turn into fertilizer. This is the tool right here that you want to use. It's got that flat edge on it. And it grabs that sod beautifully. Forget about a shovel. And you want to shake it out, so you got to be on your knees anyway. So just get on your knees and get intimate. Of course, I'm doing it now in the spring, and it's nice and cool. And I'm not breaking a sweat. I don't plan to break a sweat. Matter of fact, I'm about a third of the way through it. I'm going to stop and get a cup of coffee and admire the work I've done so far. You see all this nice soil, the weeds and the grasses, all took care of it. It's protected the soil life. Here's some soil life right here. Oh, I lost it. There's a little centipede. No, he didn't want to be on camera. He's like some Native Americans I know. They don't want to be on camera. I don't know, I never offered to pay, so maybe if I paid. Of course, some of them are worth paying for because they got that history. So, you can see how easy it goes in there now. This is the right time of the year. We got spring melt, so everything is hydrated real well. You can pull it out of the ground and shake it off easy. And I like doing this. I'm listening to the birds. Very little traffic now that the price of fuel's up. That's nice. It's quiet. So I don't know, there's 10, 12 feet I finished. I'm gonna get a cup of coffee. This is my new bibs that I bought from Duluth Trading Company. They're not supposed to stain. And there's a pocket for knee pads, but the knee pads that I got I don't like. I have to get knee pads that don't have a bunch of perforations in them, or segments. But right here's the work I did in the last 20-30 minutes. This is an onion that was growing in all those weeds, so I'm going to replant that onion. It's a tough one. It's a spring onion. And here there's sod underneath this cardboard too, but I'm going to leave that cardboard there, and I'm going to double it up or whatever, and I'm going to punch holes in it and plant in the holes. And that bed there is largely unplanted right now. It's going to stay smothered until June or something, and I'll plant it, or maybe I'll leave it smothered until August and then plant fall radishes. But right now, we got a good swath finish now. See the rocks that I'm pulling out right there? Rocky ground up here. And down there is where I'm throwing all the sod. I'm going to cover it with cardboard and let it decompose in place. And once it becomes soil, I'll bring it back up. And then I'll add it back to the bed. So I think that's about a third. If I do another third to the big rock, then maybe that'll be it. After that, I don't know, we'll see what I do. Right now, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. I got about 15 feet done. Made it to the rock. And I'm going to walk around for a while. I don't know if I'm going to finish this bed or not. If I don't today, I'll do it the next time I come up. I'll bring potatoes and onions up with me again the next trip, and I'll plant them in here. I got another idea. Oh, and there's all the rocks that come out of here. But all this sod here, I think I'm just going to put it on the bottom of this swale here and just let them grow in place. And maybe I'll plant it. Maybe I'll put cardboard over it and punch a hole in cardboard and plant it. If there's a drought, that stuff's going to grow really well down there in the bottom of the swale. And if it's too wet, then it won't grow that well. That's an interesting idea. Planting on the bottom of the swale. Like the pit gardens, like I learned in the permaculture design course I participated in. I covered it with chira leaves. We're supposed to get some rain, and that'll keep if there's a downpour, it'll keep the topsoil in place. And it'll break up the rain. I'm going to bring some straw for the potato onions. I want to kind of show you this. This is a swale mound right here. And that's actually doubles as a hugelkultur. And I haven't planted it yet. Well, I got some fruit trees over here. But this part of it here I haven't planted. I'm going to turn this into a garden bed too. Maybe perennial. But here's the sod here, and this is where maybe I'll use that as a planting space. This swale. And also look at all the mounds, all the beds I have formed up. This was formed up from the subsoil that came up here as a place to put the fill from the pond. And most of it came up around the cabin, but this was a layer of it, and I had an excavator here already digging the pond, so let's form up some beds. And it's been under the grass all this while, years and years. And at some point I'm going to turn all these into garden beds too, assuming I live that long, because I'm not going to do it all at once. And over there I got a giant hugelkultur with swamp muck, and that's going to come up here and go on top of the beds. What I'm standing on, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is a large project there. And I'm not here very often, so it's going to take a lot of years. Maybe in a decade. Yeah, maybe in a decade. Still snow in the woods. April 12th. Nothing special about that. It's in the shade here. We had a 60-degree day yesterday. And going to be another warmer day today, and so unless it snows, this will be gone.